Okay.
Like a therapy session, yeah?
Yeah.
Basically, what this is I couldn't afford therapy, so I thought this is what I'll do. Yes, we are back. It's the first episode of season 2 of the For Evan's Sake podcast with me, Neodate Evans.
And me, Nana Evans.
Okay, so this season, we thought that wherever possible, it would be great to get other couples involved in the podcast, as well as discussing subjects around love, relationships, parenting, and things that go along with it. So joining us on this first episode, we have Michael and Blessing Platinum Williams, who host the Parent Cocktail Hour podcast. They've been married for 10 years, together for 12, and have 2 beautiful boys. Together, they run a thriving branding and design agency. Guys, welcome to For Evan's Sake.
Hi.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Also joining us, we have Kayode and Gemma, who have been together since the year 2000, and they are currently awaiting their COVID-delayed wedding. They also have 2 boys. Shout out to the 2 Boys Club.
Yes.
Yeah. Kayode works in business development for a large media company, and Gemma has her own business as a childminder. Like last year should have been nothing for you then, Gemma. But guys, welcome to the For Evan's Sake podcast. But thank you everybody for taking the time to be here. Obviously, the evenings, I know time is precious, so I appreciate that. So how has the last 12 months been for you guys? I'm going to start with you, Michael and Blessing. Like, what's your kind of overview of the last 12 months?
Been interesting. I think we should start from the bad and then go up to the good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do that.
I think homeschooling. The thing is, I teach, so I'm an English teacher, so I teach online to students. So I used to, anyways.
I was gonna say used to.
Yeah, I used to before we went full in with our company. So I used to teach Chinese students online because I dabble in a bit of Mandarin, whatever. So basically,
see how she just brushes it off, just with a bit of Mandarin, whatever.
Casual.
You know, this is my wife, everybody. This is my wife.
So I knew at the time that COVID was a thing. I just don't think it'll be an us problem. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was kind of used to teaching, so I thought, okay, I was teaching the kids anyway, but wasn't as full on as homeschooling full time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we learned a whole lot during that time.
Yeah.
And then, but I feel like this time round,
Wait, before you go there, we also learned that we put our child in the wrong nursery. It was a terrible nursery. So basically, just to cut a long story short, I guess we're here for however long we are, so I can talk, right? So basically, like he just didn't have like basic fundamental skills of anything. He could barely write his name, which was expected at his age, at 3 at the time, just at least had a bit of penmanship.
Yeah.
But basically, his school really messed up and sent us a report that said that if Ivan doesn't want to, take part, we just let him go. And we were like,
can he what?
We pay you how much money and you just let my child go?
And the thing is, it was supposed to be a good nursery. It was Ofsted outstanding, but it was a Montessori. So Montessori is all they do.
Yeah.
It's very kind of hippy dippy. The child runs the curriculum in their place.
So
and we was like, what? You let my child, who will definitely not do no work if you don't tell him he needs to do work. And they just let him just run helter skelter.
They don't give him a balance. Like,
what does that mean? Let him go. Let him go in what way?
They don't force but they don't encourage them to kind of learn. They're like, if they have interest in it, then they'll kind of ride it on.
So if he's like, I don't want to do this, it's okay, go and play.
Yeah.
Over there.
Whereas in life, that's not how it goes.
No.
Work, and then there's play.
Yeah.
So what we encountered, we were like, oh wow, so we need to kind of like reteach him how things are.
Yeah.
So there was a new mantra in this house: no work, no play means time out all day. Which meant
You know what? I love a good mantra, you know. I love a good mantra.
We are a family of
in our
mantras,
house, it's
I'm telling you.
we do what we have to do so that we can do what we want to do.
Exactly. So we basically would say, if you don't do your work, we're going to lock the playroom. So we have a playroom. So we're like, if you don't do your work, we're locking the playroom. So then he started to realize really quickly that, look, because we only did lessons for like 1 hour.
Yeah, it was the longest 1 hour of the day. I'm telling you, it was wild. And we double teamed it, so we did half an hour and half an hour each. And we actually we have like underlying anxiety and just went through the roof every time. It was like, oh,
it was horrible.
Do you want to swap?
But yeah, so that was homeschooling. This time around, it was okay. As in like this time, because we obviously kind of taught him that no playing time out there.
Yeah.
But with our.
But wait. Yeah. We also need to highlight. Actually, we're gonna get to that point.
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
I'm gonna say we also need to highlight that at that point, we actually did teach him a whole lot. When he finally got the balance of time to work, like his brain just sucked everything up.
He's a genius.
You know.
But yeah, so basically, our business actually there was a small dip. So there's a bit of a dip, and then I used that as an opportunity to learn how to app develop. So I started to develop apps and stuff, and then we.
Just to also reiterate how she brushes that off as well. She
I love the way she's just throwing stuff out there, like bang, just like that.
Amazing.
I'm taking notes. There's Mandarin in there, teaching English, and then you learn how to app develop just like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, then we decided that so with our company, we're going to kind of go full on with it, and and then basically, I think by the like mid last year.
Yeah, when the lockdown, so we had like 3 month stint where kind of nobody did anything, and it was just like everyone stayed at home, and it was literally everyone actually did as they were told. And then when the lockdown started to ease, and then the phone and the email started pinging off again, and we just it was great. Yeah,
so since then it's been okay. Like I feel like our relationships flourished because before we had the kids, we were running the company together. We had a magazine before, and we were together 24/7. So after we had the kids, we kind of like went our separate ways in a sense. Kind of like he worked full time. I was kind of working from home. So basically, it just forced us back together again.
Which is what we always wanted.
That was the plan. That was the end goal. But COVID kind of like
made it happen. Yeah. So many couples like really hated being around each other for all the good years. Well, we loved it. It was
we were like safe.
It was sensational. Like perfect. So, after the 1 hour of homeschooling was done, was like great. Let's do this.
Brilliant. Kai and Gemma, how was it for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, well, that was a very positive version of lockdown. I think I was sitting there thinking, yeah, that did happen for us. That wasn't for us. Don't know no Mandarin, can't develop no apps, nothing. I think so. I mean, yeah, I think the second time around lockdown, as I said, it's been a lot easier. I always remember I had a little argument with my boss because he was like, listen, I don't think you're going to be back in the office until September. And I was like, dude, you're going mad. It's going to be like 3 weeks. It's all going to be over. Super relaxed about it all. I mean, we weren't even considering taking the kids out of school. They could have stayed in there. I mean, I would have been happy for them to stay in there the whole time. But then it kind of like the first couple of weeks went by, and then it was like a month, and then it was like, okay, this is going to be a long haul thing. And I think definitely initially it's me being in Gemma's space, right? Because Gemma works from home, and it's me coming into the house and being in the house all the time. And then the addition of the kids, one of them is obviously usually here because he's little, so Gemma's looking after him anyway, but the older one is usually at school. So I think it was a bit more of an impact for Gemma, but I think initially we dealt with it pretty well. And we were saying to each other, like, how well we were getting on, and like, how much we were enjoying the first round of lockdown. I'm not sure it's the same now. I think she's ready for me to leave now, even though I'm like, no, I'm settled. I'm working from home forever now.
The first part of the lockdown, the first lockdown, I don't know how many we've had now. What is the second or third lockdown?
Yeah.
The first lockdown was fine. I think we both got on really well. Work-wise, Kayode done what he did upstairs in the loft. I had coal, but I wasn't actually able to work the first lockdown. My setting had to close. So first lockdown, I wasn't able to work until I think end of July, August, I started working. But yeah, childminders were excluded from working unless they were looking after critical worker children. And my parents weren't critical workers, so I wasn't allowed to open my setting until a bit later. But yeah, I think this lockdown, it's been different. Yeah. I've been working again.
What changed?
I think we were ready for it though. That's what I think changed. We're ready for it the second time. The first time was just a shock to the system. It's
I don't think I was ready for it.
The first time.
Not how it plans out. I mean. Not how it's planned out. I think everybody over Christmas got very excited and was just like, yeah, we're gonna get to see, you know, some of our parents or our friends, or just even if it was those couple of people, we were so excited to see people, and it was just snatched away from us out of nowhere. Nobody actually expected the government to just completely do a U-turn and say, oh, actually, no, we've changed our mind. And it was literally days before everybody, in fact, some people had already gone away. I saw people in Dubai, I saw people in Australia, I saw people all over the place. People had already left London to go up north or to go to Cornwall. So yeah, I think I wasn't prepared at all. I thought that we'd be able to see family and stuff, and then maybe there'd be some sort of lockdown again over the rest of the Christmas and then January, but I didn't think it would be as strict as this. And I think that's made a massive difference.
But from I meant more like from a homeschooling perspective and like working from home perspective, you kind of done the rough bit already and like figured everything out. So it was like when it was announced that it was happening again, for me it was a bit easier to deal with rather than the first time, because I mean, I was saying to lots of people, I was like, I learned very quickly in that first lockdown that I'm a terrible teacher, like terrible.
You're not alone, man.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I'm gonna join that club as well, man.
I was just emotionally, I just was like, I don't really understand how I'm supposed to deal with this and something else at the same time. And it was like, and I felt sorry for my son because I was like, I don't know the answers to these questions, or I don't know the answers to the questions you're asking me. I can only teach you the way that I know how to teach you, which is not probably how your teacher teaches you, right? We're going to get to the answer, but it's going to be a different way. And you're going to have to unlearn it afterwards, probably. And it was like, and in my head, I was like, I just don't really, like, I didn't have the patience, right? I didn't have, so I think in the second lockdown.
Which Kayode really doesn't have generally in life. He doesn't have.
I won't lie. I mean, I won't call her a liar. It's very true. But in the second lockdown, you know, I spoke to Kai, my son is 9 years old, and I said to him, listen, I don't want to teach you. You don't want to be taught by me. So we're just gonna have to find some way for us to figure this out so that you're getting your work done as quickly as possible and you're as happy as possible. Because otherwise we're gonna be at each other like arguing all the time about stuff. And so I think, and he was really good. The second lockdown, I mean, he was done. His mission was to finish all of his work as quickly as possible. So like he was having Fridays off because he was finishing most days by 2. So we were good. So I think we dealt with the bad bit at the beginning, so that, you know, the second lockdown it was a lot smoother.
It seems like homeschooling was better second time round.
Yeah.
But then for me, I wasn't doing any of it. Last time round, I was doing some of the homeschooling, or quite a lot of it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have any work.
And because I was so bad at it, so she had to. I had enough.
Yeah, so I was doing the majority of it last time, whereas this time, thankfully, I haven't had to do any of it because I've been working again. So it's been impossible for me to do Kai's homeschooling, and then I currently look after 3 under 3s, like including my own son. So there's no chance I'm doing homeschooling and wiping bogey noses and changing nappies and feeding them every 5 seconds. It just.
How did you find, Gemma? How did you find homeschooling? It's like a doddle for you.
The beginning, no, it wasn't, because it wasn't. I'm teaching early years most of the time. Well, all of the time for work. And in my old job, I worked with older kids, but I just went in teaching PE or running PE lessons. So I've never had to do, you know, those important subjects for Kai's age. I don't even remember doing some of the stuff that Kai's doing now when I was in school myself.
Kai's in year 5, isn't it?
Yeah, so he's doing maths and I'm looking at the work thinking, huh? I don't get any of this. This isn't how I was taught how to do things, or I was never taught at all how to do like, there's fractions.
Can I confess something?
So I'm giving all of that work over to Kayode the first time. But, you know, second time around, Kayode has done everything. So I'm just like, yay. Very grateful I haven't been able to do.
I will make a small confession. There was so maths isn't necessarily my strong point. English, I'm good. Maths isn't my strong point. So one time, so we've got like a garden studio at the back. Nana's there usually most of the time during the day. And I would, as much as possible, spend the time in the house with the boys. One time, Akai, our oldest, came to me with some piece of maths. And we were going through it. And you know when you just tell yourself, like, you have to be honest with yourself. And I was like, I'm not equipped for this. Yeah. But my ego wouldn't allow me to tell him that. So we're going through it. And then I'm like, Akai, you know what, man? You've been working at this for a long while now. Sometimes what the brain needs is a break. Yeah. So what we're going to do, we're going to have lunch. Yeah. And then we'll come back after break. Actually, you know what? After break, then go and speak to your mum, because your mum will have a different slant there. And maths ones, I sent her away. Like
all of the maths.
But it's so telling how, like, some of the stuff that they do, like, really brought up some of like, my own shortcomings. Where I'm like, why am I struggling with this? Like when they're doing fractions and I'm like, why am I struggling? And then it's the ego as well that just doesn't want to say, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But when you're
and the peak frustration. Like I started to remember when I would do maths with my mum and she would be like, the answer is on the paper, like literally digging her pen. And I was doing similar. It's like, how do you not see it? It's so simple, and really trying to rein it in so that you're not shouting at them for something that they can't get.
Yeah.
And, it was frustrating.
But that was me first lockdown. It's like, what do you mean 8 + 2? 8 + 2? It's like, what how is it 11? I was just literally like, what are you talking? And then they'll be like, and sometimes they'll point something out. The second time I was like, okay, so what's 8 + 2? And they'll be like 10. And if you have a fraction, what are you dividing it by? Blah, blah, blah. And I understood how to ask the right questions. Right. And I think the first time I just didn't get that it was like, I had to think more about what I was asking than, so I mean, I was just trying to get to the solution without actually the thought process around how he's actually learning it. But like this, and they were a lot organized the second lockdown, so that there were videos and there were worksheets. Yeah. So I could quickly just look at the worksheet and be like, okay, I can see the chain of thought that I need to apply here. Whereas the first time it was like, here's this math sheet, go do this math sheet, or here's this thing, or go print off any one of these 28 documents and then go through one of them. And it's like, huh? Whereas now there was
But you know what, in all fairness, I didn't mind the first time around. So when they first went off, up until half term, that was a bit hit and miss. So they had nothing to work on. So we were sharing our laptops with them, and that was never going to work. So then half term came, I've gone out, I've bought laptops. We didn't have any. Our front room looked like a little bit of a crack house. We didn't have sofas. So we just had some dining room chairs and a table. But I set them up little workstations and all of that. And so that after half term, like we went in and we were on a roll. I was like, yeah, cool. So, but then I think it was maybe 2 weeks before the end of term, and our oldest one thought both of them did it. Yeah, both. I was so annoyed. So, you know, one of the things that annoys me most is getting a call from the school. Like there was nothing that will annoy me more than getting a call from the school. So I'm there minding my business. I see the number come up already. I'm upset. Like, hello.
You don't even know what it is yet.
just don't call me, innit? Don't call me. So I was on the phone. Hello. Oh, hi, Dad. And I hate it when they call you Dad. Like, for me, I feel like Mr. Evans is appropriate. But they're like, hi, Dad. Just calling because it seems that Jaja hasn't submitted any work for the last week and a bit. And so we, taking ownership, where they just seem to take to it quite easily and quite well. And generally when it comes to technology, they're very good. So we were like, okay, so they're running with this with minimal input from us. So we can kind of get on and do what we have to do. They would just come and say, yeah, done this, done that, done this, done that.
Finish maths, finish English, done my reading.
Mate, a bag of work not submitted. not submitted. Not submitted. And it was at that point that the homeschooling experience changed for me. And I was like, this needs to be over because I have no time for this. And for the rest of the lockdown and everything like that, I was a shell of myself. Like, I would, if I'm being honest, certain times I think I probably hide from them, like make myself purposely unavailable because I'm like, don't answer me any questions because I don't want any part of this. And then the other thing that annoyed me was how long it took for their school to kind of get on board with video lessons. Because even by the end, they were still doing like 2 video lessons a week. Yeah. And I just couldn't understand, what are you doing that you can only manage 2 video lessons a week?
All the lockdown, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I think it was difficult. And I think it's tough to comment on whatever, the teachers and schools and whoever else is involved behind, that we don't know about, because all of the schools were so different. All of the info that they were getting from the government, from all of the various departments that they work for, it was just all constantly conflicting each other. I mean,
I know we were taken by shock initially.
And I was getting sometimes 5 emails a day from various organizations, like that I was working with childminding wise, whether it was Department from Health, whether it was my childminding association, whether it was a local borough, my childminding team. I kept on getting various emails about what we're allowed to do, what we're not allowed to do, new regulations that are now in place, what we need to make sure we're covering. And I was just like, this is ridiculous.
But it was all contradicting as well.
Yeah,
that was
constantly contradicting each other. And I was just like, I can't do this. I can't keep up. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And yeah, there were definitely schools that I think were properly slacking. They really weren't doing enough. And then there were other schools that were doing too much. And then the teachers were just completely worn out because they were just like, what the hell is going on? What are we supposed to be doing? So I think it's difficult to comment on every school, but I think Kai's school definitely changed the second time round, and whatever they did, I mean, speaking to various teachers that you guys know and we know, I heard that they basically got a big kick up the butt and they were told that they had to do like morning and afternoon registrations that were on video. They had to do so many video lessons a day. They also had to cover other topics that they weren't covering before. So I know something changed during that like Christmas time round. But Kai's homeschooling second time round, I think, has been a lot more organized.
Yeah.
I don't know what everybody else thinks, but
we've had the same.
It wasn't right the first time round at all.
I just never want to go back to it again, ever.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's it. I'll actually be gutted if he has to go back. Not so much for us, but for the kids as well. I think it's really affected the kids, and I'm intrigued to see, what is going to happen in the next few years, 10 years even, how it's going to affect them in the future. Or if it does, or if it doesn't, I don't know. But
for me, it's just it was about energy. Like I could see the kids, our 9-year-old son, his energy levels were still so high by like 6-7 o'clock at night, right? And like you could see, because he wasn't at school, and like it's just not burning the same. And like I could take him out for an hour-long cycle or whatever. It's not the same kind of, energy is not burning in the same way. And I think that for me was the biggest issue for me. Like really, it's like he's not having the same level of stimulation at home that he's gonna get at school. Like he'll get the work done. That's not the issue. Like the work will be done and he'll be learning to the right level. But everything else, like we can't give him that chit chat with his friends. Like he'll come up to us and give us a chit chat, and I'm like, I don't really understand really what I'm supposed to respond to this stuff, and like it's just come in. You should ask him how it went homeschooling.
You know what? I was gonna say at the beginning of this that we should do a sweepstake to see which child comes to interrupt first. I was certain that it would be but the way that Michael and Blessing have got like bedtime on lock, I know it's not going to be you guys. No, it's not going to be you guys.
The little one's in bed. The older ones, he's good though, because I told him at 8 o'clock on the dot, you got to go and get ready for bed. So that's what he was just. I think he just wanted us to see his face to let us know that he's doing what we told him.
Getting his props.
I was up at 6 o'clock.
Oh, really?
And then at 6 o'clock we turn up, and then we go to sleep, and then they're up at like 6:30 as well. But it's fine. We're happy. Like you had 12 hours, decent.
Yeah.
On the weekend,
I think the main thing is that if they're sleeping and it works with your patterns, and that's all that matters. They're getting enough hours, and it works with what you're doing. And that's a brilliant thing. I wanted to ask, like, talking more about the relationship between you guys. How do you think this whole situation has changed you for better or for worse?
I think for me personally, so like a couple of years ago, I used to have a full-time job, and I didn't see the kids very often, except for on the weekends, which was annoying. And I've always dreamt of being a very active father, right? So I think the lockdown, because after finishing full-time, I went freelance, and then that's kind of a little bit the same. We have a bit more autonomy though, right? But now when lockdown happened, it just made me realize how much I friggin' love my wife and friggin' love my kids, because I just thought like all I've ever wanted was just the time just to spend with them.
Amen.
You know what I mean? Just the time to kind of like, watch my kids take their first steps. Because in that time, isn't it, Mateus started to walk. Yeah. And I missed that with Ivan because I was working so much. I didn't see Ivan's first steps, and it really cut me because I've always dreamt of seeing things like that. So, like, these past few lockdowns, I don't know how many we've had now, which lost count. Right? It's been so cool just to see, like, for example, Ivan is just growing like a weed. He's just so tall for a 5-year-old. It's ridiculous.
He's wearing 8-year-old clothes.
Yeah, it's like why are you so tall? Why? and then Mateus, he's learning to talk, and it's fascinating because at the start of lockdown, he could barely, say anything, but now he's kind of like putting gibberish sentences together, but we understand them.
Yeah, we understand them.
But it's just like seeing that development was just so fulfilling for us. Yeah. And then for Blessing and I, marriage-wise, we had a lot more time to talk. Yeah. We love to talk. We have a podcast as well, so it's just a little bit of what we do. We love to talk. It gave us a lot of time to kind of like focus on each other, really like go real deep. So because we like to have deep conversations. Sometimes we just lie in bed, and sometimes we just happen to randomly wake up in the middle of the night, like at 2-3 a.m. in the morning. We just have a conversation because that's what we do, right? But we couldn't do that before because we had to get up for work or what's happening. But we had that freedom to kind of re-explore each other and kind of rediscover our love for each other. And you getting emotional?
No.
Oh, okay. And then,
my glasses are fogging up.
Oh, that happens too. And yeah, it was just for me anyway. It made me realize how much of a good time this was because
obviously we know that loads of people struggled and it was a tough time. In the sense of
we did have our moments.
There were certain moments, but I feel like it allowed us to really plan as well. Like there was quite a few things like that year was actually quite a stressful year with like finances, and we were able to look at our finances properly and put things together and rejig some things, and we were like, oh, okay, no, we're okay. Yeah. So we had to really sit down. We have a spreadsheet, so we used the spreadsheet to kind of like calculate everything, plan everything. Every single thing that we spend has been planned to a T.
And it's great. It's great how lockdown allows you to trim things guilt-free. You can just like, oh, we don't need that trim.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't need that anymore. Like, forget that. We're not buying that anymore. I don't need to get that anymore. And you just realize you've got all this money to kind of play with.
Yeah. So we've been using that to invest and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, it just forced us to sit down and have like really deep conversations about stuff, about life, about our plans.
Yeah,
it was cool.
And we can't also forget parent guilt. We were talking about homeschooling, and the first time around was stressful for everyone. And what we discovered when we were talking, because we now had lots of time to talk, was we actually had a lot of parent guilt. Yeah. So literally mostly every night we'll kind of sit down and review how we did in today's homeschooling. Yeah. And we're like, okay, maybe we should try this. And we just tried everything to get through to this child. Let's try this method, let's try this method. And then we discovered that Ivan actually thinks like Blessing. So they kind of have like a similar language of how they talk. Yeah. So Blessing became like the master teacher for Ivan, because everything she said, he just understood. And whereas I guess speak a different language to him. We discovered that, but we wouldn't have discovered that if we didn't have that time to kind of reflect and kind of just like, re-strategize for the next day. And then, now she teaches him everything. And I just kind of, me and Mateus.
You're doing great, sweetie.
Yeah, you're doing great. And then Mateus and I just had Mateus and I, but I guess we also discovered that Mateus and I speak similar languages. Yeah. So, we're cool. And then that's how we kind of like developed our teaching strategy. Yeah. So second time around, just like Kay said, it was nothing.
Yeah.
Kayode, Gemma?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think the first lockdown, as I said, I think we handled it really well. And as I say, I think we both surprised each other by kind of how close we became and how easy it was for us to spend, all day together in the same. And I mean, bear in mind, me and Gemma have been together for a very long time, so we know each other very, very well. But at the same time, we haven't spent all day. I've always been working, and I've always been going into the office every day. So it was a shock, but I think initially we were getting on really well, right? Yeah. And then it all fell down, and now it's just like, and then I think then it was kind of, the build up to Christmas was really, again, was really good, and we were kind of felt like we were on the way out. And I think from a relationship perspective, I don't really think it's been difficult at all. And I mean, it's interesting when you said like planning for the future and doing those kinds of things, because I can see you, innit? Because it was quite interesting because we started doing that, and it was like, I was like, you're like, should we just move to Spain? Because it's like, why not? Because what's the point of being here if we just we're only here because my job is here, but if I could do my job from anywhere, might as well go to Spain. And you start having dreams and different thoughts about stuff. I think the longer lockdown goes on, the harder it's becoming in terms of, I think we need to have a second plan and the second phase in terms of what we're actually doing now. Because am I going back to the office or am I staying in? I think just some semblance of an idea would be good, but maybe Gemma's got a different take on that.
No, I do. I agree with the majority of it. I think the first part of the lockdown for us, and I think everyone that knows us was just like, oh really, you guys are getting on well? And it was a surprise because Friday is super stubborn, I'm super stubborn, and when we clash, we've never really had super massive rows, but we both don't want to back down. And yeah, we're just so stubborn that we're just happily just not chat to each other until one of us some sort of apology. But the first part of the lockdown was literally easy. Like we were getting on really well. I felt like our relationship was stronger than ever. As Michael said before, we had loads of time to, connect with each other and do stuff that we never had the opportunity to do before, as in, spending loads of quality family time together and having just general chit chat that we didn't have as much because, Kayode was always working. So I only saw him in the evening and weekends the majority of the time. But I think, not as time has gone on, but as maybe, I don't know, whether the weather changed or just the fact that everybody's hopes were so high and then everything was taken away at Christmas. And I just think it's been a really long time where we have just constantly been with each other that I found bits difficult. And Kayode most of the time doesn't talk that much. So if I've ever wanted to communicate anything, small things, it's quite tough for me to be able to communicate those things with Kayode. So I found it a little bit more difficult because those times that I would go and have a chit chat with my girls or go and see a family friend. I haven't been able to do that. But I don't think Kayode's ever done that stuff anyway. I don't think it's just a guy thing. I just think it's a Kayode thing. He's got his own personality and he keeps
ain't got time for chit chat.
Everything gets
we don't do small talk around here, man.
What's the point?
So yeah, I found it a little bit more difficult, and I've had to, have time to, go for a walk or whatever to just have a little bit of a breather. But it hasn't been major. And again, as I think Michael said earlier on, we've just had a lot more time to reflect about what we want.
And it's the repetition, right? I think now we're just like, everything is the same.
It's literally grounded.
Where can you go? You can't do, there's no like release. And I think it was interesting because I was speaking to one of my mates, and when I was talking about how well me and Gemma were getting on, and he was saying a very similar thing about him and his missus, we were literally trying to get into the weeds of it, of like figuring out what it was, right? Because it's like, obviously if you could find that that thing, then we'll be happy forever, right? Yeah. But then we did just decide on chit chat, because we were like, actually, what's happening? Things are just being discussed and dealt with very quickly throughout the day, right? There's no like wait until the end of the day, and then it's like, let me tell you about everything that's happened during my day, and I'll tell you what's happened during my day, and then like there's all these other things we need to discuss, and you've got a lot more time to just like, things are just quicker to kind of, oh, remember there's this thing, or it's not all at one time. Because I always remember, I used to come home from work, and sometimes you'd feel a little bit like Gemma would be like, so, oh, you're back now, so this, and this, and I'm like, oh Jesus, like I remember I heard the first one, so I heard the first one, but then by the number two, I thought about something else. Like in my head, I was like, oh, there's a list here, and I can't take a list right now. Whereas now it's like, it's not an issue, right? Because you're here all day, and I just feel like things, all of those little things, domestic things, they get done very quickly now. Whereas before, it was like maybe on the weekend you would have a longer list of things to do. Whereas now it's like, but then the problem that you then have is can't really do anything, because it's like, we've been to the same parks so many times. We've done the same walks. The kids are even getting bored of playgrounds.
Even those tiny, I usually call them dog shit parks, but those tiny little parks that nobody goes to.
Yeah.
They're so busy. Everybody's at every open space. And
we downloaded a hiking app. So we basically just started going to all these random hiking tracks with the boys.
We're hiking now.
Good. What's the app called? Oh, you have to share it.
4 Trails.
4 Trails.
Yeah.
4 Trails. Okay.
That's
good. That's an interesting.
Yeah, because another friend of mine was doing a similar thing, which was like every weekend they were trying to go to a different park in London, like do all the parks in London or whatever.
We're exploring England right now, man.
Yeah, we just going different hiking tracks.
Love it. What would you say? How has the situation changed you?
Changed me?
Yeah, has it?
No, I was fine. I'm always home anyway. I've worked from home for the longest time. So first lockdown, I think I was made for it. I absolutely was so unaware until it hit. And then I only cared because I couldn't go to material shops. Like really, that was it. I was like, oh man, I forgot. I should have bought loads of African print. I was so oblivious. So I was fine. But this time around in winter, it's been hard. And it's for all of those reasons. I've just missed everybody. First time, it was cool. And same things. We connected more. We spent more time with the kids. I got to be home. Like, I didn't feel compelled to kind of say no to people. Like it was like, well, we can't go out anywhere anyway, so less lying. I was fine, but this time I am like, no, I want to go out drinking. I haven't wanted to rave in ages. I so want to be in a rave.
This is what we keep saying.
I just want to be in a rave and a DJ up there, like all of that, the bass. Like I'm just really anxious to get out. Although there's the angst that other people may have about COVID, but I really am like, I just want to be around humans. I want to be in a festival, all of that. That's been, but for us, again, we're all kind of long-termers, aren't we? It's like, this is our 21st year together.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. Like, just the extra chit chat, we kind of had all of that. We went on holiday last year as well. Yeah, we went to Greece.
Yeah,
and
we done a cheeky one, and we got denied at the airport.
Oh,
yeah.
Did you actually get?
Forgotten
You
about
did
that.
get in,
Yeah.
or?
It's the first time in my life. I know you've done this before.
I've missed flights.
Yeah,
so.
me, I'm not the guy to miss flights. Yeah, I can't. No, but so there was a new thing where we went to Santorini, and there's this passenger locator form thing that you have to fill out.
Yeah.
And so when we were trying to check in, on the website, it wouldn't let us check in, and it just said, "Oh, you need to go and check in at the check-in desk." So I'm like, okay, cool. So Friday morning, off we are, Heathrow, get to the check-in desk. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning. They're like, before you even got to the check-in desk, we're queuing up. And they knew that they hadn't put the word out, because this was like quite early on. And so the woman was already there asking people, like, do you have your passenger locator form? Do you have your passenger locator form? And there was like at least 3 couples, and we were one of them, that were like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so we got denied. We couldn't get on the flight, and we had to go back, fill out this form, wait until midnight that night for the Greece government to send it back, and then fly out the next day. And that was upsetting.
They usually send it to you over email, or like as part of the
it was what was it, BA?
BA.
Yeah, it was BA.
What is it?
The next day, the lady actually was like, she kind of just let it off that this is a bit of a hustle.
Yeah.
So those that know, but they are not obligated to inform passengers of this. And then you got to buy a new ticket, basically. It's the scam. Yeah.
But here's the biggest scam of all. Like, so there was another couple in exactly the same position as us. So Nana booked the tickets, and then Nana decided to upgrade the tickets. We wanted to do a little special. And so the couple next to us, when they rebooked their tickets, they were told it's going to be an extra £60 each.
Yeah, £60 each.
An extra £60 each for the new ticket. So it's like, it's not, it's like, okay, you swallow it.
Yeah.
Came to us. Imagine this guy sat there and looked us dead in the eye and said to rebook each ticket would be £250 each.
And we're next to the other couple.
So I was like, I said, you know that we just heard them. Like, literally, they're paying £120, and now you're asking us to pay £500. So then that was another thing, where they're in the airport for like the best part of 40 minutes, where I was just saying to the guy, I'm not going anywhere until you sort this out. Like, I'm not paying that price, because I know that they've paid this price. And then in the end, what did we end up paying?
£17 each.
Hustle.
BA was on one.
Yeah.
They were just on one. It was just somebody else came along, and he was like, what time is the flight? He was speaking to the guy, what time is the flight? Then he was like, okay, that's £34. I was like, £34? Like, yeah, it's going to be £34.
Listen, I didn't even ask twice. I just put
in my card. Yeah.
It was random, but yeah, they were on one. But that was fun. We got to go away.
And I think, and this is the thing. Generally speaking, if we forget about homeschooling, because actually outside of homeschooling, I really enjoyed the time with the children. But I actually enjoyed last year. I took it for a time I did nothing last year. Like, if I did nothing, but it was a time for me to reflect, kind of decide, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm not going to do, this is kind of who I want to be, and then just kind of move into it. And then in the middle of it all, getting to go away and just the two of us spending time together. It was, I enjoy it. But it's weird because sometimes you feel like you can't say that out loud. Because of the type of year that it was.
No, I say it all the time.
Like, no, because the thing is, it's like there's a lot of people that are struggling. For example, people that live on their own.
Yes.
This whole thing has been a lot for them, because being like, if they're used to a schedule, I feel like everybody's used to a schedule. Even with us, even though it was great, I was used to having like an hour walk every day to drop the boys. That schedule kind of completely threw me off because that fresh air every day, I wasn't getting that anymore. And I was like, okay, we need to do something. We need to get out. I have to get out, otherwise I'm going to go crazy. So it was kind of like a thing where, but I don't know, like there's so many, I feel like a lot of good things came out of last year. Like I haven't passed my driving test after failing like 9 times.
Oh,
well, congratulations. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah. So
how did you pass a driving test in lockdown? They were still doing driving lessons.
So basically, what had happened is that early in before the lockdown, I was doing an intensive course, and then I failed. Then what we did was straight after I failed my 9th test, we bought a car. So I bought my car. We just said, let's literally the next day, we just went to a showroom and bought my car. And then throughout the lockdown, Mike was my driving instructor. So we were literally I had an intensive course. So I already had a teacher, but Mike was now like teacher 2.0. And like, so we were doing that with the boys in the back.
I was merely an observer.
Yeah, he was an observer. We had the boys in the back and I was just driving. So we literally drove every single day throughout that lockdown.
That's so good.
And then as soon as the test centers opened again, I was literally one of the first ones to get my test because I had booked my test already, but then it got cancelled. So I was literally one of the first ones. But because I'd been driving literally every single day, and I knew that God wanted me to pass that day because the way that we were practicing was we were doing the school run every single day. So the school run, what I'll probably be doing with my car because we knew we're going to be doing the school run. So basically, we just did the school run every single day. And and the school run just happened to be a test route, and that was the exact same test route.
Wow, look at that!
Yeah.
So she was just chilling.
I just
one
knew,
hand in.
No, I didn't. I was just so comfortable, and even the examiner was like, "If you drive like that," because I got 2 minors. It's like if you drive like that, and if most drivers drove like you, then the road would be a safer place. But he didn't even know that. It was like. I know this road. I know roads. So it was
well, that's what they say. It's all about experience. You just have experience on the road.
Exactly.
Right? If you don't have any experience on the road, then there's no chance you're passing. So that was
no. Kayode, can you drive?
Yeah.
Look, it's another person that hasn't seen you drive before.
Yeah.
I've never seen you drive, but you've never seen me drive, so I can't say nothing. I was hoping you were going to say no, so I could feel better.
No, it's been a bit of a bone of contention between us over the years. I've had my license for years. I just never drove, and I always used to be like, "No, you're the driver, babe. Gemma's the driver." But then when we had our second child, I decided that you know what.
After a lot of nagging.
After a lot of nagging. Well, I did years and years of nagging. It wasn't the nagging, it was the child. And it was like, having to put 2 children along was going to be too difficult. So anyway, so when we had the second child, I was like, okay, let's buy an automatic. So we bought automatic and then I've been driving.
Oh, sorry, can we go back a bit?
They don't want too much detail.
I said, there's no reason you can say that you can't drive or you don't feel comfortable driving if we get an automatic. And then I was just like, if I get an automatic, you have to drive. I'm not changing. I'm happy with a manual. I like using manual cars. It means I can use anything. I can use manual. I can use automatic. Yeah, man. Man.
Man.
How are you going to drive?
I don't believe that anybody who drives a manual car is truly happy.
It's pointless. It's pointless.
Brother, preach. Please, preach. It's true. You know what's crazy? Look, I can drive manual. I can drive automatic. I haven't driven a manual in years. And then a few years ago, when I had to get back into a manual, it was a courtesy car. I was like, what type of fresh hell is this? Why would anybody choose this? It makes no sense. But I wanna shift the conversation a little bit. Nana and I, well, Nana and I've been dipping in. I've been watching these 2 programs on Netflix. One's called
no, one's on Netflix, one's on Amazon Prime.
You talk.
Right, so the Netflix one is called The One, and it basically explores this type of DNA testing where you can just send off a piece of your hair and it will tell you who your soulmate is. And your soulmate could be on the other side of the world, they could be down the road, but it is like your genetic soulmate can be found. And basically the one on Amazon Prime is called Soulmates, and it's like 8 different stories exploring this same type of technology that is in the one. And it just shows you all of the different ways that it can go right or it can go wrong. Now, my question is, if this becomes a possibility and you could get a DNA test to find out who your soulmate is, would you take the test?
No.
Because
Are you saying that because you're sitting next to each other?
Yeah.
Nah, I don't think it would tell me that it was Gemma, because I don't believe it.
I won't do it because I feel like the connection that I have with Mike is way more than I don't even.
It's just love.
As long as love. So am I going to now try to form another connection with somebody when I've already done the work? Do you know how hard it is to like?
You know what? You hit the nail on the head.
Wait, but is it not saying they have to be your soulmate? It's just telling you, this guy over here might be your soulmate, right?
Yeah.
It's not relevant, Jerry. It's not relevant. It's not.
Yeah.
This is it. It's how can I be 21 years into this relationship, and then you're telling me that I can do science, and you can tell me that my soulmate is, and so what about the last 21 years?
But you also believe that there's a soulmate, that there's one soulmate for you.
I don't believe that there's one soulmate.
No, I don't even believe in the term soulmate. Look, the thing is, right? I was listening to a conference today actually, and it was really interesting because they were just talking about the constructs of everything: the word love, the word sex, the word soulmate, the word all. And it's actually timely that you say this, because a lot of what they were saying is like, we're told what these things mean, right? And we're told what this emotion therefore means this, right? And therefore you associate all of these things together, but like all you're doing is saying this person fits into a construct of the word soulmate, right? What does that actually mean? It doesn't mean anything really, like from my perspective. So for me, I'm like, I don't know, if somebody was like, oh, that's your soulmate across the street, I'd do the same thing I do to everybody else around here and walk on. I don't even raise my hand, but it's visual, innit? So I had to do something what I usually do, keep walking. But so for me, it's like I don't really that it's not a romantic idea for me to like find stuff like, especially like DNA with my one. You have to take something from my beard, my lockdown beard. There's nothing up here to take.
It would just never happen. That could never happen. I'm sorry. It doesn't make any sense. If they can't tell us whether we've had COVID or not. Whether I've got a soulmate that lives around the world.
In Brazil. With the manual car.
I think it's dangerous because if someone's not like secure in their relationship, that just mind fucks them, man. They're just now gonna be thinking, oh, but what if?
And there are a lot of people that believe in, soulmates and a lot of various words and meanings and spiritual things. So yeah, as you said, I don't think it's a good thing. I think that's pretty
interesting. So you two don't really believe, is this right, Kai and Jem? You don't really believe in the term soulmate, like as a term?
No, I think that. No, I don't think that there's one person out there for everybody. I think that there's probably loads of people out there for everybody. And if you want to find someone, you can. And then when you do, I think relationships are about compromise and hard work. Because anybody that says relationships are easy and you just have to love each other and that's it. No, it's not like you have to compromise like the rest of your life.
Especially when there's family and kids and other things involved, you know what I mean?
And whilst you're doing that, you're obviously, trying to make sure you're happy and you're enjoying every day and taking each day as it comes kind of thing. I personally believe that there's only one person out there in the whole world for everyone. Because nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. I love Kayode to bits, but who knows what's going to happen in 10 years' time? He could run off and find somebody else.
And the risk factor keeps it interesting, right? You know what I mean? I could fire. You never know.
They really boring and just rubbish when I'm older. When we get to like 60, 70, I think it's getting older every time.
You making it older. I told her it's guaranteed. I'm guaranteed to stay with her until she's 50. And then after that, we're gonna have to see how it goes.
You're gonna get.
We're gonna do like a 3-month rolling contract.
Yeah, we just listen. I think. Look, me and Gemma, you guys haven't met us before. We're like this, but we're 20-something years in as well. As you say, we supposed to have been married during lockdown. It would have been our 20th anniversary of the day that we met. So lockdown scuppered that, and you know we haven't been on holiday since. So don't mind this.
Yeah. I want to ask another question. I want to ask another question because obviously you just said, Kayode, you guys have been together for like 20 years. You guys have been together for 12 years. Us as well, 20 years. And a lot of time when you tell people that you've been together for this amount of time, people are like, "Oh, what's the secret?" And I'm like, I can never answer that question because
they always fuck me, the people that ask you that question.
The only people I know, mate. They're the only people I know, fella. All right. But if you was to say, not necessarily like giving advice, but what do you think has worked for your relationship that you've been able to maintain it for the amount of time that you have?
I mean, look, I think it's me and Gemma enjoy doing things together and the same things. Like during lockdown, we've been working out together nearly every day. Yeah, we've got PT that we do once a week when he was coming here, and then we do Zoom. We like drinking together. We like watching, you know, we do everything together. Do you know what I mean? So it's not, I think that we, from a kind of, I don't know, I always say that like me and Gemma, we're heading in the same direction, and at the same time we're enjoying all the things that we can possibly do, right? And like me and Gemma try to do everything all the time, right? And sometimes we're trying to do too many things, right? But we can do them together. We want to go, as I said, we want to go out with the kids and we want to go swimming or whatever that's a terrible example, but but just we do things together, and we're both very driven people in our own different ways, right? And I think we both have this kind of like, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to succeed, and whether that's succeeding at bringing up our children, whether that's, you know, succeeding at, you know, drinking the most at a night out, whether it's succeeding at exercising, like we'll be competitive about everything. You know, me and Gemma when we used to go on holiday, just me and her, when we were younger, we would have a pad in our hotel, and it would list down all of the activities we were doing. Yeah, so whether it was mini golf to tennis,
card playing
cards, and there would be a tally, and we would be tallying that. It would be yeah. Gemma sometimes won that card.
Whatever. Here we go.
But the thing is, it was never like, it was just because it was fun as opposed to anything else. And I think for us, and I mean, look, people, when I speak to my mates and stuff about like relationships and stuff, I'm the worst because my advice is just always so
blunt.
Just like, I'll be like, nah, that she's wrong. Tell her she's wrong. And then they'll be like, but then do you think you're right or do you think you're wrong? I think I'm right. Well, then you need to say that you think you're right, and this is why you think you're right, right? And I think sometimes with me and Gemma, I think that's what works, is that we just tell each other the truth, as painful as that truth may be to each other. And my computer keeps unlocking, sorry. And I think that for us is the most important thing, that we have to just continue to, you know, bring each other up, and you know, sometimes you might have to knock, or she might have to knock me down a couple of pegs, right? Which happens often, right? But I think that to me is it. If there's something there that you can wrap up and take, great. But I don't know what the advice is.
I think
Michael and Blessing.
I think for us, the main thing that's always kind of the main thread that's always ran through our relationship in general was respect. We'll have that, you know, we're mutual respect, we're teammates, we're partners in this thing. There's no one is above the other. not because I'm the man or you're the woman. It's like, you know, we're in this together and we make decisions together, right? I think one crucial thing that we learned like a few years ago, actually, when we're doing therapy, which I highly recommend that everyone does, marriage counseling, therapy, is bloody good stuff, man, was love languages. And I for one, because I think I'm relatively stubborn. I mean, I'm a little bit stubborn. We learned about love language, and it just unlocked so many things that I just thought, like this woman actually works in many ways I didn't think, and she does certain things that make me feel loved because, you know, that's what I like. And I think after we learned that lesson, another thing as well that we do, and this may be TMI, but hey, we're TMI people, is we do sex training sessions.
Oh my gosh.
No, don't. We're going to bring it up. We'll have children, so we can talk about it, right?
Me, so, I'm taking notes. Go.
Get your pen and paper, take notes.
Stop. No.
So Blessing is cringing, but this is not Blessing. This is a weekday.
But this is what I said to you the other day. We shouldn't be cringing about these topics. We should be able to talk to each other about sex.
Absolutely.
100%.
We've spoken about it on the podcast extensively.
Plus, this was Blessing's idea anyway. Anyway,
what was my idea? The training session.
Yeah, the training session. Well, I can.
So expand. Tell me.
Yeah, what is it?
Expand. Come on. Stop the chit chat now. Bring me the details.
All right, guys. So basically, once or twice a month, Blessing and I will get together, put the kids away, kind of, we'll have a conversation, we'll talk, kind of thing. And then we'll just try things out. So maybe, you know, we might try a different head game and I might try different things. And, you know, we'll both be making notes. So the aim of the game is you try it for like a couple of minutes, have a timer, stop so no one gets, you know, carried away. And then you make notes and then you feed back at that person. And then after you feed back, like, okay, I think you should have done it like this, or I think we could do this. We go for another round and try it out. And if it works, it's perfect. Take the notes. And at the end of the session, you throw the notes away and we just go for it. Basically. And then that's how we've elevated our sex life, and we have real steamy, passionate, orgasmic, very raunchy, Latino loving. I'm just proud of you. I just need to talk about it so people can know about this stuff. Do you know what I mean?
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
No, I'm actually like properly like, okay.
Yeah, just try everything, man. Sometimes I might find the odd. I used to read like Cosmopolitan magazine because women read that stuff, right? And it was simply that it always seems to have things about what women like, right? So I thought, oh, let me try this. So I'm like, babe, I need to try something, and you lie down, close your eyes, bend your knee this way, and twist it this way, and let me try this. And you know, and sometimes it works, and sometimes like, oh, this is bullshit.
I think the main thing is communication.
Yeah, it's a communication tool,
respect.
Really.
Yeah, communication, respect.
Yeah.
he just digressed.
No, but that's a good angle anyway.
Yeah,
throw in there. I do think that we don't talk about, especially when you're in a couple for a while. Sex becomes like, it's like young people thing, or like the new relationship thing. Like people don't really talk about it.
God forbid.
It's very important here.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that, man. Cause what she said.
Well,
yeah, guys, we're finished now.
What do you think, guys?
Sorry, Kayode, you were gonna say something.
No, I was gonna say that, like, you know, another thing, like the first lockdown, I think, you know, it was quite funny because I think even our sex life improved, right? And it was like, you know, I don't know, maybe in my head I thought, you know, maybe that because we were around each other all the time, you know, it might have the reverse effect, right? But actually it was a good thing, because it was like, actually, I think, as I said, you had more time to experience the good stuff in your relationship, as opposed to you could deal with the bad. You had more time to just get rid of other things, like, and I think so I think that was an interesting. I mean, we haven't gone down to like that. I'm not sure,
Kayode doesn't do any of that stuff.
Yeah,
Kayode wouldn't be interested. Kayode doesn't talk, so there's no chance he'll be able to do counseling, sex talk, advice, or anything. He doesn't talk to me, let alone anybody else.
You know, Kayode's eyes wrong.
I have always said I'd be interested to do something like that.
Which one? Counselling or the sex? What did you call it? Sex instruction.
I'm happily.
I think definitely.
It sounds interesting.
Getting married. That's probably the only counselling that we went for. But it actually really was.
Is that the forced one that you get married in the church?
Yeah. You know, you have to go for like.
Yeah. Did you say the first time?
The forced one.
Oh.
No, when you have to do it, you get married in the church. That counselling.
What?
Yeah. When the priest sits down. Yeah.
You have to go for counselling session with the priest. It's 6 sessions, wasn't it?
6 sessions.
You have to go for 6 sessions, or they won't marry you. Basically.
Wow, I've never known.
When he first said it, I was a bit like, okay. But he was really helpful because we had never really spoken about finances. And he just brought that up. It was like, have you ever spoken about finances before? And I was like, no. And then he just opened up so many factors that by then we're 12 years in. So you think you know each other. Like, you know, we know all we need to know about each other, but obviously you don't. But then also just to jump in, like even with the finances thing, it wasn't that we were kind of, oh, that's mine, you can't have that. But we've always kind of been like, if you need something, here it is. And so there's never, rightly or wrongly, there had never been a need to really sit down and be like, okay, this is the finances and whatnot have you, because we always knew, like, if I need, you can ask the other person. But what he highlighted were both of us are not great with money. And he was like, who's the stronger one? And it was like, there's nobody that's great over here. Can we bring a third person into the relationship? It was like that, but it was like, he just highlighted, well, you know, baby's coming along, you've got to be more responsible. It was nice having somebody that didn't know us highlight parts of our personalities and our relationship, and that we could speak to, although it was just 6 sessions. But definitely by the end of the counselling course, I was like, yeah, we should do this, although we haven't ever never done it again. We haven't done it, never done it again. I do think that it would be good. Maybe we should.
I mean, look, I think everybody that does it says that it's good, right? But just for me,
most, not everybody.
Most, but just for me,
I know quite a few folks that are like, it was probably the worst, but that's the counsellor as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the counsellor.
Is that because they didn't enjoy the experience, or it changed their relationship?
It changed their relationship because they thought that the counsellor was on the other person's side.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it didn't really help because they just felt like 2 people were ganging up on them. I mean,
See,
it may have been factual. They may have been in the wrong though, but it didn't help.
Yeah, that's what I would be worried about. You know, I mean, I'm always interested in hearing other people's opinions about myself. I'm quite happy hearing it. Sometimes it's hard to hear about yourself, but I'm happy to hear and, you know, get sometimes advice that I need. I don't think you'd be able to listen to.
I don't want anybody to tell. You know what? I'll tell you something. The other day, someone tried to tell me something about my child, and I was like, we're relatively close, yeah. And I was like, so are you telling me something about my child? Because that's what I'm hearing, and I think that we shouldn't do that. Do you know what I mean? Because I was like, don't tell me.
Don't you feel like
it's not the same? I say to Gemma, sorry, just quickly, I always say to Gemma, like, I don't want to go to parents' evening because I don't want to hear their opinions on my child. Like, I just want to know what number in the class is he? 1 to 10, the number. That's it. I just need to know what we need to do at home. Because the thing is, in my head, I'm gonna put, and I'm slightly joking, but I'm also not joking. I'm gonna put all of my energy into it, right? Like, anybody that knows me knows if I do something, I'm doing it until it's done, and I'm gonna do it properly to the maximum of my potential and my ability, right? And I look at parenting in exactly the same way, and I look at relationships in exactly the same way, right? Like, my friends know I'm a loyal guy, yeah? Like, it's to the end, like, with me. It's no issues. So in my head, I'm like, there's not, even if somebody gives me a piece of feedback, it can't really make any difference because I'm already doing the most that in my head I can do, right? And I know you can say that, but one can tell you to do this or do that, yeah. But but I'm just giving you an idea of like my mentality on the idea of, and the thing is, I'm not stupid enough to understand that there's not that's a very one-way road and one-way type of thinking. I get that, but that is my way of thinking, unfortunately. no matter how much I will try, yeah, there'll be times when I try, when I say to Gemma, all right, babe, let's just sit down and talk about it. And like, honestly, after a couple of minutes, I'm like, are we done? Have we had enough of a conversation about it now? And she'll be like, no. And I'll be like, okay. And then, but the thing is, I just can't. Like, I can't. Like me, but you know, that's it. Maybe in 10 years.
In 10 years' time, you're a joker.
I think with the therapy thing, though, we were blessed to have a couple. So they'd been married for a while, and we felt like they didn't ever take any sides. Like they kept referring back to their own personal experiences. So that allowed us to reflect and to understand and see ourselves through their experiences. So we would explain something, and then they'll say, well, from our experience, this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. And then we were like, oh, so we're not the only ones. We're not the only ones going through this.
And they'll be like, oh, that argument.
Oh, that argument. We've been there, done that. So then they'll explain what happened with them. And then we'll be able to see, and then they shared how they resolved it. And it just made such
I definitely think it's a big difference, 100%.
Were they a black couple, and did any of that matter?
It didn't matter, but they were white. It didn't matter at all.
Yeah, and they were, honestly, they were from our church. Honestly, like, we tell everyone about them, and I really feel like they have to
make it a
professional thing because they're really good. But it got to a point where we were just like, this is like, we were going through a really tough time, because after we had our first son, and we were trying to adapt to kind of like now being parents.
Whoever says children fixes things, huh?
I don't know who said that. So basically, we were trying to adapt to becoming new parents. So we got so our pastor's wife said, okay, we'll get you guys therapy, counseling. So then they organized that for us, and it
was revolutionary.
Yeah.
And I was very skeptical about it. So I get where Kay's coming from, because like I know exactly what you mean. Like, I don't want no one to tell me about a relationship, no one to tell me about me. And I'm very like, I'm quite a sensitive guy. So if you talk any shit to me, I'm off. So but like, I it took a while for me to kind of warm up to it. So I just gave it a go, and I was like, actually, it's not bad at all. It was actually very freeing, actually.
I can't remember how long we were doing it.
We did it for a minute, man.
Yeah, we did it for a while.
Yeah, it was really good.
But do you have other people that you talk to? Because
that's what I was thinking.
Because for me, it's like, it's not that, and I say that, like, when I said that, I am slightly joking. Like, it's not that I don't talk to anybody. Do you know what I mean? But for me, it's like, I've got friends, close friends that I've known since age 11, and you know that for me, half an hour conversation, we can get through a hell of a lot of stuff, right? For me, and you know, there's a lot of the times I just need like a reality check, or I just need like, you know, and I just, for me, that it's just, I think the main issue I have is not the thing of talking, because I love talking and things coming out. And like, me and Gemma will talk to people, right? And we've got no real issues about like putting our dirty laundry out there as well. And we'll have conversations with people. That to me is not the issue. The issue is more the structured counseling concept, and the idea that because I you know, in my spare time, or like, I'm very interested in like NLP and like studying language, you know, and I just find a lot of this stuff is very formula driven and very, you know, this is the typical answer to this question. And then I will find myself, and I'm just saying this because I've been in an experience where I've done like these, like, you know, it was on a leadership course basically, but that we went away, and there was a very structured like learning thing. It was all about NLP and stuff, but then they really wanted to go deep into these things, right? And like, I was the only person that didn't talk, but I didn't talk because, and I'm talking like the 20 people in an auditorium, and everybody's talking, and people are throwing out things that you're like, wow, you should like was deep. But still, I didn't feel like I needed to talk, and that they were like encouraging me, and I was like, but I don't understand the concept of this moment. I've learned in my head. I was like, I've learned lots of things already today that I can't even think of what I would say, and I'm not sure what I would gain from it, right? And for me, the structure of it was an issue. But then after the event, after the actual structured bit, I couldn't stop talking about stuff that I was feeling to people that I was around, right? But to people that I trusted and I knew. And I think, and that for me is always my main barrier, I think, with that kind of thing.
Yeah, with us there was no structure. We just spoke.
And I feel like with the whole thing about talking about your relationship to your friends or whatever, I think that's when sometimes it gets a bit complicated, because your friends always have a bit of a bias towards you as well. Sometimes you have those friends that tell you as it is, or maybe sometimes you have those friends or family that just always side, no matter what. They don't even give you logic, but always side with your partner. It's just like you're saying something, but for some reason, they're your family, but for some reason, they just side with your partner. For no reason whatsoever.
That's my mum.
Yeah,
That's all my family.
Yeah, so no matter what, there's no logic behind it. It's just he's right, you're wrong. Yeah. That's it. And there's no way to resolve things. That's not a way to resolve things. And I think with friends as well, if let's say it's something that's quite big, then they now form an opinion about your partner. And after you've resolved it, they still have this opinion.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just not even worth going there with, speaking to your friends about a situation, because you know that we're going to get over this because we always get over it. But you're not going to get over it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There are
paranoia, though, isn't it?
Two people out of my whole circle that if I'm gonna kind of really talk about stuff between me and her, that I will talk to them about, purely on the fact that I know, regardless of what I say, their interaction with her is still going to be the same. But I am so mindful of that, because I know there are some people, God bless them, in my family and my friendship circle who I will never, ever tell our business to, because you know that they will never get past, oh, and then she did that. And so, and it stays, but I think what you said is so important. And you have to know.
You just know the right people
you can speak to,
I think we're quite lucky where we have a lot of friends and family. I know you say that your family always take my side, but I don't necessarily think that's the case. But I think we're quite lucky where we have a lot of friends and family where I don't think they judge us individually, and I don't think they take sides, and we're able to talk to a lot of our friends and family, whether we're joking one evening over dinner, or if we need to take it a little bit more serious and then have a phone call or a conversation where we need to kind of let out a bit. I think we're quite lucky where we're able to do that. Not all of my friends or family have been able or had the opportunity to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting what Russ said and what you just said, but I think initially I took it as there's two ways to look at it, right? It's you not wanting your friends to know certain things about your partner, right? And you sometimes thinking, I wonder if they said that with that in the back of their mind, sort of thing, right? Versus them not treating your partner differently, right? It's two different. To me, that's two different layers on it, right? For me, I've never had the worry of them treating Gemma any different. And also, again, like, because I've been with Gemma so long, my social circle is, they know Gemma just as well as they know me.
It's the same circle, really.
Yeah. It's like, we went in the same. So most of the time they'll be like, well, I bet Kayode was being a dickhead and Gemma. Do you know what I mean? Most of the time, or not, or they'll be like, yeah, I can see that. I can see how she might have flipped off the handle or whatever, right? And it's not. But for me, I don't have the worry that they're gonna treat her any different. I do sometimes have the other worry, which is, actually, I was in a bad mood and I made it sound worse than it actually was, because I needed to vent, and then my camera, I needed to vent, and actually, I don't actually want them to think that Gemma actually did anything in that scenario. But then, to be fair, I don't know. For me, it's just like.
And as you probably heard as well, we're quite real with each other and with everybody else. And if people don't want to hear stuff that we've got to say, like we don't care, or if they take it personally or think, we're bad to each other, or we've done something that's really unusual, or whatever. If they've got an opinion on us that they don't like, then they probably shouldn't be our friends, or they probably don't know us very well. Like, we are very open and we're happy to express to each other and other people. And you know, most of our friends and family kind of know that. That's probably why. Yeah, no, I'll leave it like that.
Yeah, she was gonna say compliment. Nearly. There was a compliment. Nearly. Change your mind.
You guys are cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. You guys are cool too. I love all of this like conversation over internet. Like I just feel like I've been able to have these conversations like with you know, on our general days out or nights out with friends and stuff. We don't have these conversations. It's the same conversations. Like we still open up about stuff, but we just talk about the same things all the time. So it's nice having something a little bit different to talk about.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that will change.
That many couples in it to like sit down and chat with a couple and talk about couple stuff. I can't think, we haven't had too many opportunities to just sit down and be like, what's it like for you guys? Because you wouldn't do that. If we were out somewhere, like if we're at your mum's, we're not going to like drill you two like, okay, so Kayode and Gemma. We're not going to do that because there's other people who
used to do that. You used to do that actually.
Did I?
No, I
didn't do that. Yeah, I probably did, to be fair. But then I'd be doing it in like a big sister nosy role, but not like,
it doesn't matter what way you're doing it.
No, I mean, it wouldn't be like me and you sharing and them like you just don't really do that in normal social settings. I maybe like when are you guys gonna have kids or something.
I mean, like even like, but this is probably like, I mean, definitely Gemma. This is probably the most we've kind of spoken in all the time we've known each other. So no, it's the
EP see each other out. Is that right? Yeah. So it's just the general chit chat when you go out drinking or see somebody at a birthday party. How you doing? How's life? How's the kids? You don't have a deep conversation about your relationship. Otherwise, you'd be like,
No. Once every 3 years.
You know what the reality is? The reality is, if I'm being completely honest, so pre-COVID, if we had been somewhere, and then let's just say we're out, and then Gemma, you've come up to me and you're like, and you've tried to do this type of conversation with me, I guarantee you that evening, I'd have been like, but no, why was she talking to me? I'd have been like, and she wouldn't stop. And she was, me, I'm just standing there. I just want to enjoy my peace. And she's just there. So I appreciate like all of this and the situations that have allowed this to happen over the last, because, you know, over the last year, people have like, okay, how are we going to connect? And let's reach out to people that we don't know, people that we haven't spoke to in a while and just talk. And so I really appreciate all of this. And
it's not just couple stuff, it's just like life.
Yeah.
Which is what I found with age. I feel like I've just come to appreciate like age. I'm not as old as I'm not as young as you guys, but let me not do that.
How old are you guys?
32.
What? You guys are young, man.
That's no age.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, you guys are babies.
Yeah, man. You know,
that's why when he said with age, I was like,
I know. When I said it, I had to commit to it because I already said it now, isn't it?
And you were scratching your head like, oh, these guys are blatantly way older than us, you know.
You know what the thing is now. I feel like a grandparent.
How?
No,
it's only 8 years. It's not that much.
Me, I'm 38. Nana's 52.
You fool. We are both 40.
I stopped counting at 28.
I actually lost count.
No, both of us. We know age no more.
No, I literally lost count. So I was like, I remember thinking, when we get married, I really want to get married before I'm a certain age and before I have grey hair. And literally on Mother's Day, I'm doing my hair and there's two grey hairs next to each other on Mother's Day.
What, you've gone this long with kids and not had grey? I swear, as soon as I had a Kai, greys just came in. Just like
I was so gutted. I think just because there was two next to each other, and I was just like, oh. But I really wanted to get. How old are you? I wanted to get married.
I'm 37. I'm 37.
You're 37. I'm 38.
Well, honestly, when I said we stopped counting, we actually have stopped counting. I don't.
If you guys didn't say you've been together for 20 years, I would think we're like, you're probably a bit younger than us, actually.
Yeah, you guys look really young.
No, thank you. Thank you. You're talking to us, right? Not to Nana and Russell.
No, I'm talking to us.
Not the self.
Give me the compliment.
But you guys look young too.
Yeah, you guys are.
Mentally old. We're mentally old.
Yeah.
Especially you.
We're tired. We're very old and tired now.
It's been a long inning. It's been a long inning. You've done well. You've done well. But listen, guys, I want to thank you all, man, for your time this evening. I've really appreciated chatting to all of you and just the different aspects that have come out. Is, as we said at the beginning, we joked about it where we were like, this is like cheap therapy, but it has been. And so now we're gonna go and do I think you have to, Michael, you have to send the details for their sexual training this time. Because you know that's what's gonna happen. That's the thing we're all gonna ask. So what was that?
Would be a positive. That would be a positive repercussion of today's conversation. I'm hoping she goes down that route and not down the counselling route.
Counselling can be good. I like the
Just
idea.
end it there. Russell's wrapping up.
No.
Wrapping up.
I like the idea of doing counselling with an older, wiser couple. I actually prefer that than like I don't know, like some kind of marriage counsellor person that has done a course. I'd actually prefer life experience, like sitting with somebody who has lived it, who you can be like, oh, this is the thing, and they're 50 years in and they know it all. Like they can just say, from my point of view, this is what we went through. I'd prefer that than sitting down with a counsellor. I have similar jaded types of things with the counselling profession myself.
Yeah,
I don't trust them.
You don't trust anybody.
I do trust other people.
Not really. She doesn't. Not really. But no, once again, guys, thank you so much for your time this evening. And I hope that we get to do this.
We've got to do it again.
We're gonna have to do it again because this has been really good.
It was great. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. And lovely to meet you guys.
Yeah,
as
nice
well.
to meet you guys.
100%.
Cool. Guys,
Thank you.
Peace.